Hey guys! I just wanted to say this is my first what if, consider it a test run. I'm trying out the idea of AI generated what if stories to see if people enjoy them. Your feedback would mean a lot, so please let me know what you think. So let's jump into it. What if Shoyo Hinata was a prodigy? It all started on a quiet Saturday morning in Miyagi Prefecture. Shoyo Hinata was just 6 years old, a bundle of untamed energy with a mop of orange hair and a constant scab on one knee. His mother had sent him outside to play, hoping he'd burn off some of his endless energy. He wandered aimlessly around his small town, a soccer ball under one arm, until the distant sound of laughter and squeaking shoes caught his attention. He followed the noise to the local elementary school gym, where the doors were propped open. Curious, he peeked inside. That's when he saw it. A group of older kids, maybe fourth or fifth graders, were playing a game he didn't recognize. A ball arced through the air, one kid leapt up and smacked it down with an open palm, sending it rocketing toward the other side of the net. The other team scrambled to keep it off the floor, diving, shouting, laughing. It was fast, exciting, and totally different from anything Shoyo had seen before. It was volleyball. He didn't know the rules, he didn't understand the rotations or what counted as a point, but none of that mattered. All he knew was that he wanted to be part of it. He came back the next weekend, and the one after that. Eventually, the older kids let him join in, partly because he kept showing up, and partly because his energy was too contagious to ignore. At first, they stuck him in the back, told him to just try to touch the ball if it comes near. But Hinata learned fast. Too fast. His instincts kicked in. His reactions were razor sharp, and he moved like lightning even though he barely understood the game. It wasn't long before he started jumping. At home, he practiced leaping over lines on the sidewalk, up the stairs 2 steps at a time, touching door frames and tree branches. His tiny frame was lightweight, and his legs were like springs. In just a few months, he could already touch the bottom of the net. The local coach at the community center noticed him during a rec league game. He didn't see a clueless little kid. He saw potential. Raw, explosive potential. With his parents' hesitant permission, Hinata joined a youth training program and began learning the fundamentals: passing, footwork, timing, communication. Unlike most kids his age, he never got bored. He didn't want to just play volleyball, he wanted to understand it. He watched older players and copied their moves. He started learning how to time his jumps, how to read blockers, how to angle his spikes. He practiced every day, sometimes with the team, sometimes by himself, sometimes against the school wall with a borrowed ball. By the time he reached middle school, Hinata was no longer that hyper kid who likes volleyball. He was becoming something else entirely, a prodigy. But the one thing he couldn't control, however, was circumstance. His middle school didn't have a boys' volleyball team. The gym was small, the funding limited, and there weren't enough students interested to form a full roster. But Hinata refused to stop. He trained alone most of the time, running drills by himself, shadow spiking, and watching matches online when he could find them. He entered tournaments with cobbled-together teams, often just barely qualifying to compete. It wasn't enough to show the world what he could do, but it was enough to keep his fire burning. He dreamed of a future where he wouldn't have to hold back anymore.
Daichi Sawamura stood with his arms crossed as he watched the new first years trickle in. He wasn't expecting much, maybe a few athletic kids, maybe a bench warmer or two. But then he saw him. An orange-haired freshman, small but built like a coiled spring, was standing in the doorway with a quiet but intense focus. He wasn't bouncing with excitement or chatting nervously like the others. He just walked straight to the court, eyes locked on the net. Daichi raised an eyebrow. "You're one of the new guys?" The boy nodded. "Shoyo Hinata. I'm here to join the volleyball team." "Position?" "Middle blocker and attacker." Daichi blinked. "You don't exactly have the height for—" Hinata took 3 steps forward and jumped. The whole gym seemed to pause for half a second. He sailed through the air like a bullet, his hand easily brushing above the tape of the net before he came down in a perfect landing. Silent, controlled. Daichi stared. So did Sugawara. Even Tanaka, who had been showing off to some new first years, let out a loud, "Yo, what was that?" Hinata just smiled, as if that wasn't even his full jump. Later that day, a second first year showed up. Tobio Kageyama. His reputation preceded him. Former Kitagawa Daiichi setter, known for precision, control, and a brutal lack of teamwork. Some of the seniors whispered about him as a problem child, but no one denied his talent. Kageyama didn't notice anyone else when he entered. His eyes were on the court, always. Then he saw Hinata standing at the net, tossing a ball up and slamming it down with picture-perfect form. Their eyes met. Neither said a word, but in that one look something passed between them. Challenge, curiosity, maybe even a spark of respect. Kageyama stepped onto the court. "Try hitting this." He set the ball. Fast, high, perfect. Hinata was already in the air before the ball reached its peak. Crack. The ball slammed against the gym floor. The sound echoed. That was the first time anyone saw Kageyama smile. Let's just say they asked Coach Yukai to be their coach before the Hinata joined Karasuno. Coach Yukai decided to test the first years early. A practice match, first years versus upperclassmen. Daichi was hesitant but curious. Could these rookies really challenge the core team? The answer came fast. Hinata was everywhere. Receiving, blocking, jumping out of nowhere. Kageyama's sets found him with laser accuracy, and Hinata hit with an instinct that even the older players couldn't track. In one rally, Tanaka shouted, "There's no way he's getting this one," as he spiked to the back corner. Hinata slid across the court and popped the ball up cleanly. He didn't just play well, he made everyone else play better. The gym's energy shifted. By the end of the match, the upperclassmen weren't holding back. They couldn't afford to. The first years pushed them to 5 sets. It was intense, exhausting, and exactly what Karasuno needed. After the match, Coach Ukai stood quietly for a moment before saying, "We're not the team we used to be, but maybe that's not a bad thing." He looked at Hinata and Kageyama. If we're rebuilding this team from the ground up, these two might just be the foundation. Karasuno was still rough around the edges. There were gaps in coordination, a lack of experience in high-level competition, and more than a few communication issues. But now, for the first time in years, the gym buzzed with belief. Hinata didn't just bring talent, he brought momentum. He wasn't the little giant, he was something else entirely. He was Shoyo Hinata, the prodigy who lit the spark under the fallen crows. Karasuno was changing, not just in skill, but in rhythm, attitude, and hunger. Practice started earlier and ended later. No one was slacking. Even the famously lazy but smart Tsukishima was showing up before warm-up started, not because he wanted to, but because if he didn't, he'd walk in to find Hinata already dripping sweat from early jump drills. The prodigy had set a new standard, and whether the team admitted it or not, everyone was chasing it. For Kei Tsukishima, it was irritating. No, it was more than that. It was personal. Hinata was everything Tsukishima pretended not to care about. Loud, obsessive, competitive to a fault. And worst of all, naturally gifted. It wasn't just his jump, or his speed. It was the way he read the court, the way he responded to a situation in real time like he'd seen it happen before. When Coach Ukai praised Hinata during a block read drill, Tsukishima scoffed and muttered just loud enough to hear, "Guess some people get to skip the hard part." Hinata blinked, tilting his head. "Hard part?" "You wouldn't understand." Hinata didn't answer right away, but the next time Tsukishima was up to block, Hinata read the angle, shifted early, and spiked the ball clean past him. He landed smoothly and turned just slightly. "I still practice harder than you." Tsukishima didn't respond, but his fists were clenched. A week before the inter-high preliminaries, Karasuno scheduled a practice match against the Iron Wall, Date Tech. Coach Ukai warned the team, "They're not flashy, they don't need to be. One mistake against their block and you're done. Hinata, they'll come for you first." Hinata nodded. "Good. I want them to." The match started with fire. Kageyama and Hinata launched their signature quick straight out the gate. The Date Tech blockers didn't even see it the first time. But then the traps began. Slow rallies, bait blocks, tight setups. The iron wall closed in. At one point, Hinata's spike was stuffed so hard it bounced off the floor and hit the ceiling. The gym went silent. Hinata laughed. "You guys are amazing," he said, eyes burning, "but I'm going to break through you." What followed was chaos. He switched up his timing, he used delayed jumps, he faked, he tipped, he feinted left and cut right. It wasn't brute force. It was calculation, improvisation, and instinct. And slowly the wall cracked. By the final set, Date Tech's coach was shouting instructions mid-play, trying to adjust. But it wasn't enough. Karasuno won 2-1. As they packed up, Date Tech's captain approached Hinata. "You're not just fast, you're dangerous." Hinata grinned. "Thanks. I'll be scarier next time." The story of Karasuno's new weapons spread like wildfire across the region. Whispers reached rival schools. Karasuno has a first year who jumps like a spring and reads plays like a third year. A quick attack faster than Kageyama's at Kitagawa? No way that kid's a rookie. At Aoba Josai, Oikawa casually looked up from his serve training and smiled when he heard. "So the king finally found his crown," he murmured. "But butt-tep it on when we meet." That night, as practice wrapped up, Hinata stayed behind doing jump sets against the wall. His legs ached, his arms were sore, but he wasn't done. Kageyama watched silently from the doorway. "You'll wear yourself out before the prelims," he said. Hinata caught the ball, breathing hard. "I still make too many mistakes." "You make fewer than anyone else on the team." "That's not enough." Kageyama smirked. "Fine, then I'll just have to get even better. You're not leaving me behind." They stared at each other for a moment. Then together, they started doing extra reps. To be continued.